Hi everyone, Florence Theriault here to show you some more wonderful dolls and to talk to you about a wonderful collection that we will have coming up very, very shortly. And so what I want to do is spread my arms out and say to you the title of this auction, which is Open the Gates, Swing Wide the Portals. Now that seems a little pretentious, I know, except we've taken it from the theme of the St. Louis Exposition, International Exposition of 1904. St. Louis is the location where these dolls will be auctioned, and we thought it appropriate to borrow the theme of that exposition to tell you a little bit about St. Louis and the dolls. Now let me tell you about the St. Louis Exposition. First of all, its technical title was the Louisiana Purchase Exposition, which is, a little hard to say, so they shortened it to St. Louis. And it fell in the long train of international exhibitions, expositions, International Exposition, however you would want to call it, that started around mid-1800s, London, Paris, all over the world, even into Melbourne, other places in Australia. And then in 1892, the very, very famous Chicago Exposition in America, where the Ferris wheel was the starring role, and so was the American Columbian doll by Emma Adams, actually not named Columbian doll until after that exposition, where it won the grand prize. That exposition was celebrating Columbus, theoretically, discovering America. And so it was a celebration of that. Then St. Louis said, well, hey, what about us? So in 1904, they decided that they would take as a commemoration the celebration, the 100-year celebration of the purchase of the Louisiana Purchase, which is all of the grand lands in the whole midsection of the United States, including what became St. Louis. Understand, in 1804, St. Louis was the West. It was wilderness. You think of it today as the Midwest, as a burgeoning industrial city, a cultural city, but not then. It was the West, the Wild West. So they decided to change their image, and they would have this grand exhibition worldwide, international, for people to come. And let me tell you a little bit about the size of it, because this was shocking to me. I had no idea. There were 75 miles in the exhibition park, 75 miles of roads and walkways, 1,500 buildings that were created for the fair, including the Palace of Fine Arts, which today, if you're looking for a place to visit, is a St. Louis Art Museum. There were exhibitions by 62 foreign countries and 43 states. And looking at the doll scenes, at the dolls that were exhibited at that fair, which is what we have at most interest to ourselves here, it gives us a really good picture, a synopsis of what was happening to the international doll scene at the time. Remember, prior to this time, absolutely dominating the doll exhibitions and winning the doll awards was France. Germany coming in close behind, England winning a few, America, nothing, except 1892 when the Emma Adams doll won the Columbian Exposition and won her gold medal. So now we come to 1904. Well, what is going to happen? What's going on in the doll scene in the world? Well, here's what happened. So I started doing this research to see what dolls were actually exhibited there. And I found that the French, for example, not so much. They didn't win any awards, but on the other hand, 1904, think about it, the French doll market was really kind of almost collapsing on itself at that time, the Germans taking it over. So they decided not to do it. There's Henri Dallemann, a French doll and toy historian, actually wrote a whole book about that World Fair, and he wrote about the French there, and he blamed U.S. customs duty, which is, I think, kind of interesting. This is what he said. There was no practical advantage in meddling in a matter which constituted a waste of time and money for them, and that ultimately custom duties were such that exhibitors could not hope to profit from their trip. So there were very, very few French exhibiting there. Leopold Lambert did. He won a medal for his automaton, and a Monsieur Dessert did an exhibition in a cabinet of, quote, richly dressed bébés, which were the joy of all the young Americans. And he also won a medal. But the German exhibition was actually, it was a really kind of a repeat of what they had done in other recent exhibitions. And it was a collaboration of many, many of the doll makers who all worked together to present their dolls in this grand, just over blossoming filled with dolls of all types. And it was a grand woman on a camel, and people were bringing things to her, and there were children all around. And it was all of the doll makers did do these. It's interesting that Henri d'Allemand, now understand that the French always had a real snobbery toward German dolls, even though a lot of their dolls were made in Germany. But they had a snobbery about them because they were the best. But even Henri d'Allemand, the French historian, said that in the vitrines were, quote, petite Marquis and Marquise copies of our most beautiful French models. And their execution leaves nothing to be desired, which was a pretty remarkable statement coming from a very proud Frenchman. Most notable among the Germans, and a separate exhibit in itself, was that of Steiff. And Allemand commented on this particular kind of doll that they were showing, which he described, and see if you realize immediately what this is. Caricatures of gendarmes and other grotesque characters which seem to us to be of the most dubious taste. These, of course, are the very rare German felt character dolls from that early period that you just get excited about if you see today. And I don't have one to show you because we very ever seldom have any come our way. What's interesting is what he did not mention, Henri d'Allemand, writing about all of these toys, was the teddy bear. And this is most interesting. He did not mention the teddy bear. The teddy bear had actually been introduced to the world at the German Toy Fair in 1903, where it was an utter failure. Made by Steiff, inspired by the adventures of Teddy Roosevelt, and introduced by Steiff there, and nobody liked it. And then an American buyer came along and said, yeah, let me give it a chance. And he bought all 100 of the teddy bears that had been made, and then he ordered another 3,000. He exhibited this at the St. Louis International Exposition, and he also had them for sale there. He sold out. And after that, 12,000 bears were made and sold of the early Steiff bear. So we're very happy to have this bear to show you, which we will be bringing back to visit St. Louis, where, who knows, he may have been one of the ones that had visited there that day. The Japanese also had a great exhibit of dolls, and in fact, the entrance to their entire exhibition of all of their arts and crafts and industrial work that they were presenting to the world, at the entrance to it, there was a traditional tea service of two women serving tea in a traditional ceremonial way, and they were of Japanese dolls as Japanese women. So very, very interesting to me. But grand prize, not grand prize for doll making, but listen to this. It was an American who won the grand prize for innovation. And I think that is probably the most imaginative award that I have ever heard given to someone, that we got to give her something. What can we give her? Well, that's what they gave to the Ella Smith Alabama baby. They gave her the grand prize for innovation at there. And we have this wonderful little example of her doll to show you, and she's waving just like she might have waved to passerby there. Ella Smith was a really interesting person and a whole interesting career in her production of dolls. She just started about that time, and she eventually made up to $8,000 a year in her backyard factory in the early 1900s, and then it disappeared. So I think that for doll collectors that are looking for something new, a focus, a theme for their whole collection, one of the things that they could do is try to collect dolls that were either shown or award winners or presented some kind of innovation at the various World's Fair or international expositions that took place around the world during this time frame, from early or mid-1800s right up to the 1939 World Fair in New York. Lots of opportunity here, and it's a really kind of an exciting avenue or niche to go into. Okay, enough talking about that. Let's go on and let's talk about some of the items that we're going to be showing at our August 1st adventure into St. Louis. And let me move these award winners over here. I want to show you this absolutely beautiful Poupée by Adelaide Huret. along with her entire world of possessions that she has kept with her. This is a very, very beautiful example. I'm going to turn her around, and it's one of the early porcelain-faced models with a very classic, dreamy, painted eyes that you all know to be a signature feature of this doll. Original lamb's wool wig. Body is not the original gutta percha of Huret, but it is a beautifully fitted kid body with porcelain arms. Very, very lovely here. And what to me is notable about this Huret is this unbelievable wardrobe that she has. Absolutely extraordinary costumes. I don't even know where to begin to pick what could be your favorite. Of course, I always love anything that's plum or magenta or lavender. And this gown is wonderful to me. I'm going to put it here and slowly turn it around so you can see it. This particular auction features the collection of 4 or 5 really fine early collectors in America of dolls. And whenever possible in the catalog, I have noted which collection they came from, because many of you would have seen them when they were shown at previous conventions where they were award winners. Isn't that beautiful? Everything about it. I mean, right down to the perfectly matching blouse underneath it and the tatting on it. I'm just talking while you're seeing details of the costume. You'd rather hear that than my voice. And frankly, I wondered sometimes this week, I thought to myself, why don't I just start showing things around and put classical music on in the background and not even have to hear my voice? That sounds like a good plan. You'd like that. Look at these, all acquired by her over a period of time, and 3 more gowns over on this side, and then look at the shoes. Look. This wonderful pair. This wonderful pair. None of them are signed, but they all have, and look at the bottom of that, they all have that very classic kind of sole that you find on the signed Huret shoes. And there we go, very beautiful. So she can have matching, and I'm counting here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think she has 6 or 7 pairs of shoes. She has wonderful hats. Look at this one. That scallop trim, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hats there, little bonnets. And then over onto her trunk, it just goes on and on. This one really caught my fancy because this is a form of the borele, which is designed to fit over the cap of the head, a very, very different kind of style to find for an adult Huret. And an little embroidered collar, double lappet on it. She has 2 hammocks, so she can truly be a lazy woman if she wants to. She has more blouses. She has, oh, this is great. She has why don't they bring this style back? So this, where you have the dicky, the separate dicky, and then you have the little sleeves that attach to it. So you didn't have to absolutely wash something every single time. You just washed the element of it that got dirty. I thought that was great design. Of course, it was probably harder to wash things then than it is now. And then over on this side, there are literally dozens of pieces of underwear, of petticoats, of nightshirts, of chemises, night shifts, all sorts of wonderful things. So this entire lady with her trunk is being sold as one lot, and she's a feature of that auction. Beautiful Lady Huret. So I thought you might be interested in seeing another beautiful Poupée by Adelaide Huret that is featured in this particular event. And this was a stunning one. Now, where our other one was porcelain with a straight shoulder head, Adelaide Huret had many possibilities for making her dolls that evolved over the years. And one of the ones that collectors look for very, very anxiously, because this is a very desirable model, is to have the swivel head and the painted eyes. The painted eyes are so beautiful on the Adelaide Huret Poupées. They're very, very dreamy. They're notable. There was something she did in the painting of them. There's just like a little glaze on the bottom of the eye socket part itself that just gives them that really wonderful quality look and enhances the very heavy upper eyelids. Beautiful, beautiful face on this doll. This particular doll is very famous because she is from the collection of Louise Hedrick, a noted present couturier, and she is featured in this book by Louise Hedrick, which is being sold along with the doll and along with costumes which were made by Louise as well. And this is very, very lovely. And we turn it around this way, and you can see one of the costumes that comes with it, with its matching bonnet, created by Louise. This is another one, a simple cotton day dress with the smocking at the front yoke. Purple, of course, my favorite always. And then on this side, we have another very, very lovely example in the blue with that very, very classic yoke that many of these dresses featured. And I want to turn it around, and then I want to show you this very, very lovely bonnet that also goes with it. Notice the extra detail, like the lappet ribbons in the back with the little crystal beading at the back. And all of the instructions for making these were featured in this wonderful book that Louise wrote. So she wasn't just casual about making these pieces. She really went back. She had the original patterns from La Poupée model. And that's what she used, and she followed those instructions carefully in their construction. And all of that is detailed in this book, which comes with her. And then two other additional costumes which are featured include this wonderful one with the wrapped stole that goes around the back. Very, very beautiful. And this lovely one with the matching hat as well. So all of these are featured with this Huret. While I'm showing you this Huret, this also came from Louise, and she said to me, Florence, this is one of my most prized things I ever found when I talked to her about it. It's a little miniature embroidery hoop. And I'll take my hand away so you can see it. It even has the original little leather band around the hoop and the little transfer pattern design of what one would have used if they were to do that actual pattern. It's an extraordinary piece. I've never seen anything like it, and it comes with this little cabinet. It's a great, great piece. Now, we have also other dolls from that early time period, because Adelaide Huret's dolls were so beloved that what always happens when something is a success? Well, someone else comes along and said, okay, I got to be part of this party. And so along came Leontine Romer. And she made a beautiful doll herself. Oh, excuse me, I've got to go back. Now, I forgot to tell you that while this particular doll by Adelaide Huret does not have her original gutta percha body that would have come from the Huret firm, she's even better because she has the very rare blown leather body by Clement. Now, why this is wonderful is it's the exact same shape and form and size as the Huret. However, blown leather, Clement was a shoemaker, and he knew how to make leather that could stretch on a form but be hollow inside, like a shoe is, basically. And he started making these blown leather doll bodies, and they're so durable. So you have all of the shape of the Huret, all of the form of the Huret gutta percha, but a very durable, wonderful body on this wonderful, gorgeous doll. Okay, now we're going to swing back to Leontine Romer. Now, I know that in some people's eyes she suffers scorn because she copied Adelaide Huret. But folks, do not ever underestimate this beautiful doll. And I'm going to move it right up here and put her right up on the pedestal next to her second cousin. This is a superb doll, absolutely superb. She has wonderful painted eyes, a beautiful expression. She has her original wig, and at the top of her head, you see the metal screw that is used for the attachment of the wig and for the stringing of the original body. She has her original arms and hands and a gorgeous early dress. I think this doll is an absolute winner. Her body has the Leontine Romer stamp on the body, which designates it for you. And then one other of the early fashions that I wanted to show you, and this is also from the Louise Hedrick collection, and we'll let her move up here next to her cousin. And this is also from, stay here, that's still. All right, let me move you down, darling. Okay, she's coming up and she's moving up, and I wanted to show you because she is actually photographed in Louise Hedrick's book, and here she is. A very beautiful doll. All right, from the early period by Berwar. And she has the pivoting head. It is the flat cut neck socket, which is very rare to find. And she has a wonderful sturdy body and bisque hands and a fabulous costume made by Louise Hedrick. Gorgeous costume. And in part 2 of the series, I want to show you some other French fashions.